Hi guys, this is the answer key for the card sort that you probably completed in class. The expectation is that as I go through the words, you should check off what you have. It's up to you if you get something wrong, if you want to try and peel off what you glued or taped down and put it in the right spot. Otherwise, if you don't really like the way your card sort looks and you kind of want to have it as notes, you're welcome to just write these definitions in a notebook as I go. The nice thing about this being a video that you're watching at home is that it can go at your own pace. So if you need to pause the video to write down a definition, go for it. If you feel like I say a word and you know the definition, skip a few seconds ahead. My words might be in a slightly different order than yours, but that should be all right. First word I have is undefined terms. Undefined terms are terms that have no formal definitions. I think of undefined terms as things that don't have names, and that'll make a little bit more sense when we get to defined terms later on. But undefined terms are things that we can't physically touch. They're just kind of symbols that we draw to represent the things we're talking about. So in this unit, our undefined terms are going to be points, lines, and planes. Our next word then is a point. A point is just a location. So it could be on a graph, like when you plot the point x comma y, maybe that's like 2, 4, or negative 7, 3. That's a location on that graph. Points are always named with capital letters. So here, this is point A. And they don't have any shape or size, no matter how big or how small we draw them. They're just one specific location. Our next word is a line. A line is a one-dimensional figure. Just like points don't have shape or size, lines don't have any thickness, no matter how thick you draw them. Lines are named in one of two ways, either with a lowercase cursive letter. So here, this is line L. You could just do the lowercase cursive letter as long as it's clear that it's lowercase and cursive, or you could write the word line L. They can also be named with two points that exist on the line. So points A and B are both on this line. We can call this line AB or line BA. Rather than writing out the word line, this symbol on the top is a shortcut. See, the symbol looks like a line. Got this little segment with arrows on either side. We need those arrows on either side because lines extend infinitely in both directions. Even though those are points, they are not the end of the line. The line keeps going both ways. Our next definition is a plane. The best kind of example that I can picture for a plane is a really big piece of paper. It's something that's flat. You can kind of move it around. You can tip it up on its side or put it in an angle, but no matter how you move that piece of paper, it's going to stay flat. It's going to have two dimensions. So points have no dimension, lines have one dimension, and a plane is when I take that line and I extend it to get two dimensions. Planes can be named in two different ways, either with a capital cursive letter. In this example, that R is not cursive. Generally, I don't get too picky about if you're doing capital or print letter, or sorry, cursive or print letters, but I will be picky about if they are capital or lowercase. So planes are named with capital letters or 3 points that exist on the plane. So this could be plane ACB, it could be plane ADB. It cannot be just 2 points, because if I said like CD, that would be the line that connects C and D. It wouldn't be a plane. And it cannot be 4 points. It has to be 3 points. Next one. is collinear points. Co is going to be a prefix that we'll see a couple of different times in this class. Co means together or the same. Linear, you can probably guess, means on a line. So collinear points are points that are on the same line. In this picture, points A, B, and C are collinear. Again, we name lines with 2 points that exist. So we could give this line a bunch of different names. Some examples, we could call it line AB, line CA, line BC, and there are even more than that. Then you can probably guess what coplanar points are. Again, co is together or the same, planar is on a plane. So coplanar points are points that are on the same plane. Here we're just reusing that picture of a plane from before. In this picture, points A, C, B, and D are coplanar. All right, defined terms then are terms that can be described using undefined terms. I know that's kind of confusing, but a term becomes defined when we give it a name. So if I were to just draw a random point, that point is undefined. If I were to tell you that that random point is point A, it just became defined. Same thing if I were to just draw a line by itself is undefined. If I were to add a lowercase cursive letter or maybe some points on that line, let's call it JK, I can now call that line JK, so it just became defined. So anything that has a name that has points on it, it's a defined term. You'll probably never be tested on the difference between defined and undefined, but you'll see these words like in word problems, and you're just kind of expected to read over them and know what they mean. A segment is part of a line. So segments and lines get confused quite a bit. The only difference is that lines go on forever in each direction, and segments do not. Segments are bound by what we call endpoints. So this could be called either segment AB or segment BA. And you'll notice when I put my symbol over the top, it does not have arrows on it like the line symbol does. So just this straight line over the top means segment. Endpoints, I kind of gave them away in the last definition, but they're points that begin or end a segment or array. So in this picture, A and B are my endpoints. Array is kind of like taking a line and a segment and combining them into one thing. Arrays begin at an endpoint and then they extend infinitely in the other direction. So rays are named by the endpoint and another point that exists on the line. So this would be ray, RS. The symbol that we use for ray looks just like a ray. There's nothing on this end, just like if it were a segment. But in this direction, it extends, so we have an arrow. We cannot call this ray SR because the endpoint always comes first. So ray SR would start at S and travel through R, but that's not what this picture does. It starts at R and it travels through S. So that would be ray RS. Then we've got an angle. Angles are formed by two non-collinear rays, so two rays that are not on the same line. Those rays are going to have a common endpoint, and we call that endpoint the vertex. So angles can be named in two different ways. They can either be named just by the vertex. So in this case, we could call this angle Q, or they can be named by 3 points that make up the angle. So W, Q, R, or R, Q, W. Notice that the vertex is always going to be in the middle. I tend to prefer the longer ones, WQR or RQW, just because as our diagrams start to get a little more complicated throughout the year, it'll be a little bit more clear what angle we're talking about if we're looking at a picture that has multiple angles in it. But for now, you're fine just using that one capital letter. Intersection is a word you probably already know. The intersection is where two things meet. So when two lines meet, they meet at a point. In this picture, that's point P. When two planes meet, they're going to meet at a line. We'll do some demonstrations in class that will kind of hopefully help you visualize these things and how they would meet. But for now, I'm just expecting that you have a basic understanding of all of these definitions. If that seems like a lot and you don't really feel confident that you will know these words in class, I would recommend you write them down. So if I tell you to draw a ray, you at least know what I'm talking about so that everyone in the class has some base that we can build from to do our activity with in class. That should be all, and I will see you in class.